Alex Collier, We the People -1995. Predominantly on the United States of America. This is not a talk for the squeamish. In other words, you are going to hear some things that will frighten you, should frighten you, and they better frighten you. Because these things are reality. I am not coming from a space of fear. I am accustomed to this kind of information and things like this for a very long time. I have known about it. I have seen it coming. It's just a lot of the common folks don't know what is happening. Before we get started with that, I wanted to know if there is any questions regarding some of the extraterrestrial information that I have had the privilege of sharing with you. Q. I cannot understand this question due to poor audience audio levels. AC. Well, it didn't happen. That's what happened. Q. What was the question? AC. About an earthquake prediction. That there was a lot of people making predictions. The Andromedans themselves back in March said that there was a possibility of an 8.4 or higher right under Los Angeles in a 4-month window. I also said at that time it could have been the Northridge quake that just occurred. I didn't know for sure. It appears that it was the Northridge quake that did occur, and if it wasn't, then I am really happy that it didn't happen. Because something like that in downtown Los Angeles would cause a lot of deaths, and I don't want to be right. I don't even want them to be right if it takes another life for any reason whatsoever. Q. The kind of information that I have been seeing on TV in the last couple of weeks, that there has been more programs on. And one night I saw a special on UFOs. There's been a couple of different types of programs on super angelic beings, etc., a couple of things on UFOs. I was just wondering if that is happening for any particular reason at all. AC. It's conditioning. They're getting ready for 1996, when you will have absolutely no doubts that there are jets. They will show themselves. You will see them flying in the skies. You may even see them as early as next year. At least the craft shooting through the air. That there will be some kind of face-to-face or governmental acknowledgement somewhere in the world next year. Because the ETs themselves, those who are in control of the Earth, are getting a lot of pressure from benevolent extraterrestrials who want things to change here. They're getting pressure, so therefore the plans to dominate the world have been sped up. This is also in conjunction with the fact that there are things happening to the universe, where the actual electrical vibration of the universe is changing, and those things that hold a negative polarity are suddenly gaining a lot of weight. They're getting very heavy. This is because their energy is not oscillating in a free will or love space. So there is a lot of factors, and a part of that I will actually go into when we talk about this. Q. I have a question about the possibility that we may lose the moon. The second sun is apparent. Okay. Will there be mostly day instead of night? AC. Yes. Q. What I was thinking, that it is analogous maybe to the fact that we can't keep secrets anymore. AC. That's correct as well. Everybody will become telepathic, clairvoyant, clairaudient. We will not be able to hold secrets. You will just have to be real. You will have to be who you are, because there will be nowhere to hide. And the only way that isn't going to happen is if those souls who are in power try to hold back the Earth from moving into fifth density. In which case we have a major problem if that doesn't occur anyway. And that is because of our environment. Q. This is about earthquakes. Do you have any comments on the fact that for the last 2 weeks we've had a moderate major earthquakes? AC. Well, I have an opinion. Actually I have 2 opinions, actually 3. The first opinion is I don't know. The second opinion, and I'll be honest about it. It could be that the Earth is in fact releasing this energy, so there isn't a bigger one. It's moving itself, it's relieving some pressure. The third is that it is doing that's because pressure is building because of things that the Navy is doing in the ocean. And that is creating a vortex of energy. And building it and sending it into the Earth so that somewhere it'll come out the other end when it finds a weakness. The sonic experiments that are occurring in the ocean. Trish and I have talked about that on the telephone. Q. Was the Northridge earthquake caused by military activation? AC. It was not natural. That's all they know. It was a test. That's only one part of it. See, they really know what they are. The other part of it, number 1, it was a test to see how quickly the governmental agencies could work on it. And the other was the technological ability to create such an event and to focus it into one particular area. How many of you have had a UFO experience? How many of you think that you have had a UFO experience? How many of you really want to know for sure? I want you to take this brochure, and this is Liberty here in the front. She specializes in this. She has a very specific procedure that does not involve hypnosis. One of the procedures that she uses is working your energy field on a multidimensional level, which is important because of two reasons. Number one, you are dealing with beings that are interdimensional. Which means as you are being drawn up to their craft or they are in your space, they are affecting your energy field on a multidimensional level. It is not where I am walking up and I hold on to Stephen like this, and yes, our energy fields are interacting, but I'm a physical and so is he. UFO contacts deal with a lot of interdimensional factors. The others, there is a lot of reasons why her work is good, but the other reason is when you go through hypnosis and you go to the regular type of training, there is no real procedure for dealing with UFO abduction cases. What psychologists are doing is they are taking child abuse therapy techniques and rolling them over and treating you as if you were a child abuse victim using the exact same procedures. And they are not helping you deal with the trauma. Most of the time you are here, you are not clearing the energy field of the whole situation that occurred. Plus you are not getting all the information as well. Liberty's technique is very different and I would suggest that all of you get a brochure, read it, call her, talk to her about it. She really knows what she is doing. Tonight's lecture is on the New World Order. How many of you know or have heard anything about the New World Order? How many of you feel that you really know what it means to introduce a New World Order? Okay, I was hoping that there would be more. How many of you realize tonight, as we sit here, that the United States Constitution is no longer the law of the land? That's very good. How many of you also realize that the United States Congress no longer has to abide by the United States Constitution? Only one. As of April 14, 1992, when the United States government recognized the UN Charter as the law of the world. The UN Charter supersedes the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights and everything else. Bingo, that's reality. In fact, the United States Constitution is second to the NAFTA Treaty as well. The NAFTA Treaty supersedes the United States Constitution. You didn't know that either. The United States military has been assigned to the United Nations by President Bill Clinton. It is the United Nations that is directing all of the military maneuvers, it isn't Bill Clinton anymore. You think it is. The reason we are going into Haiti is because the UN wants us to go into Haiti. How many of you understand or have heard that there are over 300,000 United Nations troops in the United States? From Belgium, England, the European Community, Nepal, Germany, Amsterdam, the Netherlands, Russia, China, Pakistan, from all over the world. How many of you are also aware that as those troops are coming in here with Soviet military hardware that our active troops are being sent out of the United States? How many of you know that we have over 20,000 troops in Peru? Have you heard anything about that? Yes, our troops are being sent out of the United States, our active troops, because, and I am just going to lay it on the line for you. I'll be perfectly honest with you here. I've been honest with you, but I want to be really clear with you. I don't care how much this bothers you, but you have to hear it. They are going to change the currency of the United States because the United States of America is bankrupt. This starts in October. You will start seeing the first $100 bills probably by February. March, April of next year, all of the new currency will be out. It is going to happen very quickly. The reason that this is occurring is because the United States is bankrupt. The federal government, Washington, D.C. is a private corporation. I am going to give you a list of books to read, and Liberty, with the help of her mom who is an extensive New World Order researcher, has also put together a book list to share with you, which we will come to. Essentially, the bottom line is, why is this happening? Because Washington, D.C., the federal government doesn't print its own currency. It hasn't since 1913, since the Federal Reserve Act was put into law. What that means is that the United States government runs on borrowed money. And it has on borrowed money. All of it. A lot of people are under the illusion that we all pay tax dollars to pay for the running of the government. Absolutely not. None of that money is used by the federal government. All of your tax dollars are deposited in the 12 regional Federal Reserve banks, and that money is the interest paid on the money that Washington, D.C. has borrowed to run the government. It has come to the point where Washington, D.C. cannot pay back the debt. It is impossible. In fact, the debt including the interest has reached the point where they supersede or exceed the assets of the entire United States, both public and private. The New World Order is something that is really already here. It is being done all over the rest of the world with the exception of the United States. The United States is the key to making this whole thing really work because we are the last superpower and we have an incredible military. And the United Nations, in order to use and to exercise its influence, needs our military. They can't do it on their own because they are idiots. They are idiots. They can't do anything on their own. They need our military to back up what they say. So, the debt can't be paid. Now, Washington, D.C. in order to continuously get loans from the Federal Reserve had to use collateral. Now the United States of America, Washington, D.C., this private corporation here doesn't have a lot of assets. The only thing it really owns, or is 68 square miles. But, in order to secure loans they had to do two things. They had to pledge to the Federal Reserve wages of its citizens, what you make in the taxes that you are going to pay. And also all of the private and public property in the United States. Nobody owns anything else, nobody owns anything anymore. And you are about to find out in the next few years. Because what they are going to do is they are going to change the currency. They are going to devalue it 50%, and everything overnight is going to rise. The stock markets and things are going to crash. And what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen, is the United States government, Washington, D.C. is going to nationalize everything in the United States. This is the only way they can pay back the debt, is they have to take everything away from you and give it to somebody else, which is the Federal Reserve. A private bank. This is why they want to disarm you, because the only way they are going to do it is if you don't have the weapons and you can't resist. It's the only way. I said that this wasn't for the squeamish. This is happening everywhere. They've changed so many laws. I'll give you an example. The following executive orders are already recorded in the Federal Register and were therefore accepted by Congress as the law of the land. And I bet you haven't heard of most of these. Executive Order 10,995, in the event of the national emergency, all communications media will and can be seized by the federal government. No more freedom of the press. Executive Order 10,997, seizure of all electrical power, fuels, including gasoline and minerals. This is the law now. This is the United States of America. I am not talking Nazi Germany or the Soviet Union. We are talking United States of America. Executive Order 10,998, seizure of all food resources, farms, and farm equipment. This is already occurring. Executive Order 10,999, seizure of all kinds of transportation including your personal car, and control of our highways and seaports. In fact, those of you who are state citizens or have investigated the state citizenship movement, they already tell you you don't own your car as soon as you put your license plates on it. Executive Order 11,000 is the seizure of all civilians for work under federal government supervision. You can look these up. These are executive orders in the Federal Register. Executive Order 11,001, federal takeover of all health, education and welfare. I won't need to say anything else about that. You have heard about it in the news already. Executive Order 11,002, Postmaster General is empowered to register every man, woman and child in the United States. Executive Order 11,003, seizure of all aircraft and airports by the federal government. The federal government at Washington, D.C. The 68 square miles of a private corporation got its start by being called the Virginia Company. It was created by King James of England. Executive Order 11,004, Housing and Finance Authority may shift population from one locality to another. We are going to talk about that. And we are going to talk about the 43 camps that are being set up in the United States already here. Executive Order 11,005, seizure of all railroads, inland waterways and storage facilities. Executive Order 11,051, Director of the Office of Emergency Planning off the rise to put executive orders into effect in kinds of increased international tension or financial crisis. He is also to perform such additional functions as the President. Direct. In 1976, Executive Order under General. Executive Order 11,921, when a state of emergency is declared by the President, Congress cannot review the matter for a period of 6 months. That means you have a dictatorship for 6 months once the President gets on TV and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a state of emergency." Then Congress goes home for 6 months. You have no representation at all. Not that you have much now, but you will have even less once this occurs. As a matter of fact, technically the United States of America is still under executive emergency powers since the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln declared it during the Civil War, which is when the President gets the ability to sign executive orders and write laws without going to Congress. Because the Constitution says, Congress shall pass and make all laws. But in a state of emergency, The president can make decisions and then go to Congress. While this is what they have effectively been doing, except the last few administrations have really been tightening the noose around our necks. And it isn't so much them, okay, because the office of the presidency is controlled by the NSA, who deals directly with the ITs. This is who pulls all the strings. This is the government agency, for those of you who didn't hear this before, that is exempt from all laws within the United States unless it is expressly mentioned in the law. There is a lot of information here, so I am going to give you some of the heavy stuff, and then I am going to start backing it up with things that are going on. Executive Order 11,637 provides the regional and local mechanisms and manpower to carry out provisions of the Executive Order 11,490, signed by Richard Nixon February 10, 1972. And what this order does is this sets up the United States into 10 regions. Region number 1, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Boston. Region No. 2, in other words, they break the United States up into pieces. It's called divide and conquer. It's been around forever. The Eds have used it against us since they got here. New York, New Jersey, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands and New York City. Region No. 3, Delaware, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, District of Columbia, Philadelphia. Philadelphia is the regional capital. Region No. 4, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Mississippi, North Carolina and Tennessee. The regional capital is Atlanta. Region No. 5, Illinois, Indiana, Minnesota, Ohio and Wisconsin. The regional capital is Chicago. Region No. 6, Arkansas, Louisiana, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Texas. The regional capital will be Dallas-Fort Worth. Region No. 7, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska. The regional capital will be Kansas City. Region No. 8, Colorado, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Utah and Wyoming. The regional capital will be Denver. Region No. 9, Arizona, California, Hawaii and Nevada. The regional capital will be San Francisco. Region No. 10, Alaska, Oregon, Washington and Idaho. The regional capital will be Seattle. They have already set up concentration camps for American citizens. Some of them will hold as many as 100,000, others will hold 3,500. Many of them are ex-military bases that have been closed, and as we speak they are being revamped. To carry this thing out is one of the reasons why they have the United Nations troops in the United States. An interesting thing about this is this. The Department of Defense is not paying the salaries for the UN troops here. The United Nations is not paying the fees and the services for the troops here. Guess who is paying to have the UN troops in our country, including the machinery, weaponry and everything? The General Accounting Office in Washington, D.C. And they are borrowing the money from the Federal Reserve because they can't print their own money, they have to borrow it. They have hired their own mercenary army to come into the United States and disarm you. You can sit there and think I am crazy. I'm not. I am not crazy. This is reality, this is happening. The General Accounting Office is paying the UN troops to be here. UN combat forces are here for the conversion of the United States to become an asset of the United Nations. Keyword: asset. There is a gentleman, he calls himself Mark from Michigan. Liberty had this video and she shared it with me and he talks about a lot of things. He's former military intelligence. He headed one of the National Guard troops. He has also been the head of combat battalions etc. He knows his stuff. In March 1989 the Multi-Jurisdictional Task Force (MJTF) passed laws to nationalize all local and state National Guard and local police forces in a state of emergency. In every state the purpose will be to go from house to house seizures, separating if possible, or if necessary, men, women, and children. Imprisoning in said camps and searching for all weapons. Individual weapons, handheld weapons. Forces will be deployed to disarm firearms, and here's how they plan on doing it. Michigan National Guard troops will be sent to Indiana so they can help and assist the UN troops from going door to door. So they are not shooting at their neighbors. The people that will be coming through your door you will not know. They won't even be from your area. The Indiana National Guard will back up the UN troops and go to Ohio. The Ohio troops will go someplace else. People from this area will go to an entirely different state. And you will have National Guard from another state coming here, too. knocking on your door and say we are here to collect your firearms. They've apparently also implemented street gangs. In Ohio to Michigan in 1991 they used FNMJTF troops in an operation called Achilles. It has already occurred. They went to all gun manufacturers from Michigan to Indiana and Ohio. They went to gun manufacturers and dealers and they didn't go to confiscate the weapons. All they saw were the records of people who bought guns and who were making ammunition. That's all they took in this operation. And of course in those records are not only your licenses and your permits, but also where you live, work. It's everything about you. Have any of you seen the Gun Control Law of 1968? The United States Gun Control Law of 1968. Do you want to add anything as to where it came from? Audience, it was Hitler's law of 1936 or 1937 in that range there. Yes, exactly, that is right. It is exactly the same gun control law that Adolf Hitler used in Germany in 1938. It is word for word. They didn't even bother to change a word. They just said this is our new gun control law. Folks, prove me wrong. The race card. One of the reasons, yes, we have a financial crisis. It's coming, it's definitely coming. One of the other things that they will use against us will be racism. They are going to use this because in this country it works like a charm. We all fall for it. Blacks, whites, Mexicans, Japanese, most people are going to fall for it. They'll blame somebody for something and it will start race wars. Which will be another justification to disarm everybody, particularly in the cities. Divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. It's been here since the beginning of time and we can't let it happen here because it is not Americans who want to take over the United States. It isn't the Jews, it isn't the blacks, it isn't the Dutch, it isn't the Germans. It's individual people, a group of individual people probably totaling somewhere between 6,000 and 7,000, who are going to take control of the planet. They are already doing it. The only thing that they haven't got a hold of is you. In order to really make this thing work, in order for them to say, okay, we now rule the world, they have got to disarm America. Because this is the last bastion of freedom here. This is it. They can't make it work because they need us to make the rest of their stuff work. They can't go around policing the world unless they have our military to do it. Bottom line. You control the rest of the world. You got 155 nations, but you have one out here who has a standard of living that is far and above everybody else on the planet. So if you were really going to create a new world order for the benefit of mankind, what you should be doing is trying to uplift the standard of living of the 155 other nations to equal this, so we all share in the abundance. And if you really want to create a benevolent new world order, you do it based on the United States Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Because that is the finest governmental document that has ever been written, period. But, that's not what they are going to do. What they are going to do is they are going to take the one that has the wealth, that has the incredible standard of living, and they are going to break its back. Completely break its back so now it's like everybody else. These people don't know the difference because they are used to it. We are not. And they are going to break our back. And the first thing they are going to do is they are going to start with the currency. It's going to be economic. This is really the second factor, what I just told you about, right here. They are going to have to devastate our standard of living to make us equal or below everybody else. 2. We have too much freedom for them. The third factor is the fact that the government, in order to pay its debt, is going to have to nationalize. That means they are going to have to take control of everything public and private, and turned over title to a group of men in a private corporation. That's the third factor. The first factor is ETs. This is who is pulling all the strings. These men who are in power now are, or want to be, the new priesthood. They want to be the new priesthood. That means that they want to be the go-between, between the pharaohs and the workers. This is an age-old history that we have on our planet. Now the pharaoh comes in and says, well, okay, you can be my governor of this area, or that area, but you have to keep all the workers in line. You have to keep everybody under control. I don't want any problems from the humans. As long as they do what they are told, we will let you remain in power. Just study Egypt, study Samaria, Babylon. Zecharia Sitchin. Read the books. The trilogy by Zecharia Sitchin. And this is exactly what is happening now. Exactly the same thing all over again. The reason they are doing this is because they are afraid. Because the ETs, the group that are here, the Greys, Orions, and soon Alpha Draconis. The Draconians are already on Mars, and all that I can tell you is that I know for a fact that the benevolent ETs are doing everything they can to make sure these guys don't get here. Because the problem really gets complicated then. Folks, I am not coming from a space of fear, and I am not trying to scare you. I am just telling you the way it is. I have a lot of energy on this. And for those of you who remember past life scenarios, we have been through this before. And I don't want to go through it again. Not when we have the ability to change it ourselves. This is who controls the world. They're ETs, they are not humans. They don't give a damn about us. Some government sources say they've been here forever, for a very long time. If the Greys have been here that long, why is it that they haven't solved their genetic problems yet? Because they haven't been here a long time. They've been here 57 years, but they have the ability to go back in time, and play games. Which is what they've done. They need us. They need us. For our genetics, for our physical form, and because of our energy. Our emotions. They feed off energy. And our biggest energy comes from our emotions. We go from one extreme to the other. And the more anger we produce, the more energy, chaotic energy that we put out there. They feed off of it. Ladies and gentlemen, they truly do. Which leads me to another book that you need to write down on your book list. The Gods of Eden. It's absolute required reading, and it's homework. Next time I see you I am going to give you a test. This book is by William Bramley. Alright, here's some more for you. 3,000 Air Force helicopters have been painted black and have been turned over to UN troops. They were given to UN troops. We pay the gas, we pay all the repairs, you and me the taxpayer. We pay for everything except they fly them, not our military. The United States government no longer has any control over them, even though you are paying for them. The reason that this was done, and some of them are huge aircraft, huge helicopters, that is because whenever they declare a state of emergency, they are going to transport troops through the air. They are not going to transport them on the ground. So it will be virtually impossible for us to help them once they are taken, unless we attack the camps. They are going to transport prisoners through the air because then we can't free them. The only way we could be able to help them would be to attack the camps and free them that way. FEMA. FEMA is operated by the secret government. It is funded by the Department of Defense, the NSA, and the CIA. Once they declare a state of emergency and suspend the Constitution, and Congress goes home for 6 months, and they implement the 10 regional districts, the United States of America as we know it will cease to exist. Unless we take it back, or we do something right now and don't let it happen. Q. What? AC, we'll get to that. Once they break us down, the New World Order is in command. There will be a class of overlords, who will be the bankers. After them will be the rank and file of the World Order party members, hierarchical order, and a great mass of anonymous followers, servants and workers in perpetuity. It is a class system. Again, read the books. Look at India and the system of government that was set up there by ETs. And they'll tell you themselves. It's in all their literature. You are in perpetuity a worker and a servant. You never get out. Even when you incarnate, you come back into the same class. You don't get another opportunity. It depends on who your parents are. It's so close, it's scary. And all they have to do is to bring the United States to its knees, and the simplest way to do it is, number 1, destroy the economy, which they can do in a heartbeat. No. 2, disarm you. The workers in perpetuity. All the conquered foreign races, the modern slaves. Over and above all of the evil reign, the new and exalted nobility, the gods of old. The ETs, the Orion group, the Draconis, and the Greys. If they are successful in pulling this thing off, the Earth simply may not get into 4th density. And if the Earth does not get into 4th density, many of us are going to cross over. Because of the changes, because of the environmental pollution that we have devastated our planet with. I'm not saying that each one of us individually caused it, but you know what, individually we allowed it to happen. Lots of us had known things were going on, but we didn't do enough to stop it. The United States was trapped or controlled from the moment the Federal Reserve Act was enacted. It was the brainchild of Baron Alfred Rothschild of London. The final version was decided on Jekyll Island in Georgia, and the island itself was owned by the J.P. Morgan Trust. I'm giving you some of this background so that when you start to research it yourselves, you will have specific places to go. We never recovered. The 16th Amendment allowed Congress to tax personal income, And as soon as they did that, then quickly followed the Federal Reserve Act. They happened very close to each other. Because of the Federal Reserve Act, the United States can no longer create its own money to finance its operations as provided by the Constitution. That was the first stroke. Some of the families, and a few more who owned the Federal Reserve. The banks are holders of all of the class of stock that the Federal Reserve owns or issues. Now the only reason the Federal Reserve could issue stock is because it's a private corporation. Please hear this, because it has nothing to do with the United States of America. It is a private bank owned by private bankers. There are 8 banks that own all the class of stock of the Federal Reserve. Number 1, Rothschild Banks of London and Berlin. No. 2, Lazard Brothers Bank of Paris, France. No. 3, Israel Moses Sef Bank of Italy. No. 4, the Warburg Bank of Hamburg and Amsterdam. No. 5, the Lehman Bank of New York. You'll be fascinated when you do the research on these banks as to who really owns them. No. 6, Conlogue Bank of New York. No. 7, Chase Manhattan Bank of New York. David Rockefeller. No. 8, the Goldman Sachs Bank of New York. Those 8 banks own all the class of stock of the Federal Reserve. People that own those banks control and have controlled the economy of the United States since 1913. And they have fleeced us out of everything to the point where Washington, D.C., the people that we allegedly vote for, is about to take everything that we have ever owned. All the history, all the heritage, everything in the United States, and give it to these bankers because they borrowed too much money and they weren't responsible with it. And because the American people let them get away with it. Now, I am going to tell you about the Federal Reserve, how it works. It's an open market committee that obtains Federal Reserve notes from the cost of paper and ink and printing. It doesn't matter the denomination of the bill, whether it is $100, $200, $500, $10,000. Since there is no gold or anything backing it any longer, it costs 1.8 cents to print a bill. Whether it's a $1 bill, $10 bill, $50 bill, $100 bill, $1,000 bill, whatever. The U.S. Treasury prints the bills however many the Federal Reserve tells them to print. The Federal Reserve pays the U.S. Treasury 1.8 cents per bill for printing and the costs of making it. The Federal Reserve then turns around and loans it to Congress at face value. Does everybody follow me so far? Does everybody follow that, at face value? Plus whatever the interest is. Now, the key here is, not only do we get snowed this way big time, but the Federal Reserve never authorizes the United States Treasury to print the interest money. From the beginning in 1913, all the interest that we have owed on our debts doesn't even exist. There is no way to pay it back unless you take every single bill in everybody's pockets all over the United States and you turn it over and you give it to them. And you say, here we paid our debt. That still isn't enough because it is in perpetuity. The interest is in perpetuity. It's compounding all the time. We were flat sold out. The bottom line, we were sold out. Unless we do something in the next few years, our inheritance is going to be working for the United Nations and these same banks. And then working for these bastards. They don't even like us anyways. They don't give a damn about us. These interest-bearing obligations or notes are retained by 12 regional Federal Reserve banks, which collect the annual interest on the obligation. That's your tax money, April 15th. You bill and you get your check. It'll say deposited to a Federal Reserve Bank. It doesn't say United States Treasury, it says Federal Reserve Bank. Some of you have heard this before. This is not new information. These Federal Reserve boards are collecting annual interest. All of you, your income tax money is deposited into these regional Federal Reserve banks. These funds are retained by the stockholders of the Federal Reserve System Incorporated, and not used for the cost of running our government. Every year our government borrows money. Another way to express this to you is that if our government was printing its own money, why would you say Federal Reserve note on it? Why wouldn't it say United States Treasury bill or note? It doesn't, it says Federal Reserve. To make matters even worse, and I said this earlier, by holding these federal obligations or notes, the Federal Reserve Bank has a lien on all property, both public and private, in the United States. In fact, there was something that occurred in 1933 and something in 1993, and we will get more information on it. Again, This was something that Liberty was able to get a hold of that she shared with me, and that these gentlemen quoted the Federal Register, where the United States apparently entered involuntarily Chapter 11. The United States, Washington, D.C. Now, okay? We are talking about Washington, D.C. That's the United States. This is really right here, the United States. This is the fact, the Republic of California, and next to us is the Republic of Arizona, Nevada, Oregon, and Washington. The United States of America is 68 square miles. I have to be really clear about that. Washington, D.C. wheezed into an involuntary Chapter 11 sometime last year. We will get that information for you. In that, it was cited and referred to the United States citizens as a natural resource. Not as citizens of the state, or separate states or republics, but as a natural resource. The Committee of 300, how many of you have heard of that? The Committee of 300 was created by the royal family of England. We are still a colony on top of everything else. Adolf Hitler was financed through the bank. In Germany. This same bank controls and owns Union Bank of New York in California. The international bankers are presently consolidated the ownership of the planet. National debt is the primary mechanism of their control. You go around the world, anywhere, and you look at who's done business with the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. Every single country is broke that has dealt with them. They are all bankrupt, they can't pay their debts. And who's backed the International Monetary Fund? The United States. The best example that I can give you is just a few years ago is the $14 billion promised to Russia. We are $6.5 trillion in debt, and we are loaning Russia $14 billion. And you know what they used as collateral? Your wages to pay the debt, because Washington, D.C. went to the Federal Reserve and borrowed $14 billion. A bank in Italy owns Yosemite National Park. That's basically what I am trying to say. It owns half of Southern California. However, they split it up and square it out, or whichever bank you want to choose out of the 8. That's basically what it says. The international bankers are presently consolidated the ownership of the planet. The national debt is the primary mechanism. However, an international police force is sometimes necessary to force collection and keep independent nations in line. This is the purpose of the new UN Army now being organized. This army will consist of a merger between the United States and Soviet military. Mark the words that I am telling you. You are going to see those two come together. That's what the Gulf War was about. Saddam Hussein is definitely a jerk. He's definitely got his problems, but he wouldn't toe the line. He had all this gold, all this land. He didn't want to be a part of the New World Order. He did some other things to upset a lot of other people, but this was also an issue as well. The United States is the sovereign. The sovereignty of the states that compromise the Union is being stripped away and centralized control by executive orders that they themselves are unconstitutional. The executive orders that all the presidents have used are themselves unconstitutional because we are not in a state of emergency, and we haven't been since the Civil War. But they continue to do this anyway. State legislators are being bypassed with decisional authority being passed to federal regional centers. Those are the 10 persons making decisions from these regional centers will not be elected representatives, but rather part of a new layer of government called the administrative class. Folks, this is in the Federal Register. This is what Congress themselves passed. The administrative class. You don't use a word like that in the United States. Now, according to the United Nations Charter, Articles 55 and 56, which have been fully ratified and is being promoted in all its member states, the Congress of the United States is no longer bound by the United States Constitution, and is superseded by the UN Treaty. Any laws passed in any state can be rescinded or abolished if it is in conflict with the resolutions of the United Nations General Assembly. The United States government recognizes and amended the UN Charter as the law of the world. Are you hearing what I am saying? Was that clear? Did everybody hear that? Any laws passed by any state can be rescinded or abolished if it is in conflict with the resolutions of the United Nations General Assembly. And folks, in case you do not know, the United States has only got one seat in the UN General Assembly. Just one. And we don't have that many friends in the UN General Assembly because of the CIA and the NSA, and because we let the aliens in here in the first place. That's the icing on the cake. All foreign loans made to other countries are made by borrowing dollars from the Federal Reserve. Then the United States government to security debt pledges the future wage earnings of the United States taxpayer. The running of the world government is so secretive and deceptive that it is very dangerous for any nation in the world. And nowhere is this more true than in the United States, because the UN is here in the United States. They have to consolidate their power here, and they need our military. But our military to a pledge to the United States Constitution. That's why they are being sent overseas. So that when it all comes down, they can't stand with us side by side and fight. It's going to have to be us. It may not be too late to save the ideals of freedom, our Constitution, and the Bill of Rights gives us. But it is imperative that we wake up, see what is going on and then act accordingly and responsibly. I want to share something with you. Have any of you heard of Bill English? Liberty and I talked to Bill English the other day on the telephone, and he is a wonderful person. This is information he gave us, because we talked and I told him that I was going to be doing this. Here is some brand new, up-to-date information. You are not going to like this. In Indian Town Gap, Wyoming, an operation called Fireball took place for 11 days in June of this year. This was a mock operation. 10,000 troops consisting of Army, Air Force, Navy and Marines, overseen by FEMA, went into a town, house to house, door to door, and collected weapons. They did house-to-house seizures. 10,000 troops were used. They also used 50 communications specialists from the 10th Mountain Signal Battalion in New York. That is another reference that you can look for. This was to set up all the communication links once they had taken over the town. They used 10,000 soldiers. Then they set up Fort Indian Cap Detention Center right next to the town. It was an operation to see how smooth they can do it. This is here in the United States. We are not talking the Soviet Union, Bosnia, Yugoslavia, Chile, Peru, we are talking right here in the United States. Citibank of New York is right now as we speak testing the new smart card technology. It is an ATM, post-of-sale card, interactive television card, cash substitute, and you can even use it in payphones by punching in your number. The card itself is laminated, and has a microprocessor on it that knows everything about you. Everything. And when I say that they know everything, I'm going to give you some more information on that as well as soon as I find it. This is being tested as we speak. There's also two other companies. One called Intel, and the other called Motorola. They now have national ID chip implants. They put them someplace in your body. They are already testing these in New York and Chicago. They are also getting ready to launch a program to put these in children, newborn children and infants. How well it works depends on the response the people give to it. If nobody comes up with an uprising, nobody says anything, then they are going to use it and put it in the adults. But they are going to start with children as soon as they are born. Right there, using a syringe, they will implant it into the child before the child even leaves the delivery room. Q. Don't they need permission of the parents? AC. No Q. How are they going to do it then? Because we don't have a constitution anymore. That's what I am trying to tell you. The UN Charter is the law of the land now. And I suggest that all of you call the UN now and get a copy of the Charter to see what rights you just lost. There's so much information I can't possibly give it to you in 1.5 to 2 hours. It's like 3 5-hour lectures. But a lot of it is hard to take. It's hard to sit there and hear this. Even I, while sitting on the phone with Bill English, I just wanted to bang it against the wall. It's like it insane to want to control to this degree. And the only thing that makes sense is because the ETs want it. This is their Missouri. You are slaves, you are servants, we are the gods, that's it, end of story. Go back in mythology, go back and read the books of Zechariah Sitchin, go back and read the books of India, Alien Identities. I haven't read it myself but the caste system. This is exactly the way they set it up, and it's happening all over again. Q. Who's the author of Alien Identities? AC. Richard Thompson. A lot of this technology is already being used in Europe. Biometric implants, they are already using it in livestock. Not only in Colorado but Toronto and all over Europe. They are even putting it in pets now. You go to the pound and you adopt a pet, it's already got an implant. You can't get a pet without an implant from the pound. They are also looking at using full-body scanners and eye-retina scanners. In other words, putting the implants behind the eye, or just taking a photographic print of the retina. There will be little meters, and if you want to buy something, there won't be any cash. You just put your eye up to that little monitor and it will read your retina, and if it is you, you can buy something. If it isn't, you can't. If the computer is upset with you on this day or that day, somehow your name got erased, you are out of luck. You can't buy groceries, you can't pay your rent, you can't buy gasoline, you just don't exist. That is control, and that is not what this country is all about. I want to share this with you now. In 1974, the United States government had 3.9 billion records on individuals stored in the data systems of the 97 federal agencies that make up Washington, D.C. The Department of Health and Welfare and Education had 693 separate data systems with 130 million personal records including marital status, financial, health etc. The Treasury Department, which had 910 data systems with 853 million records in it. Now there is only 250 million people in the United States, maybe 270 million people. The Department of Defense has 2,219 data systems with 312 million records stored in it. All of these numbers come from the United States News and World Report, and they are 20 years old. The files today are 10 times larger and are linked between all governmental agencies. Like it or not, our lives are an open book. Using your social security number, any government, or state, or local government agency can tap into dozens of data files on any American. A total comprehensive computer profile exists on virtually every American in the United States, combining all the files. All those files are linked to one place. Our government has also developed a DNA genetic database on 1.5 million United States military personnel. And also filing into the same database are prisoners in federal detention areas or penitentiaries. I also suspect, and I haven't been able to verify this yet with my sources, I also suspect that alien abduction cases where the United States military or government agencies have been involved, that those people and their DNA structures or genetics are also probably be recorded here as well. So they know everything about you. Every square inch of the earth and the surface can be monitored by satellites. Which means that everything on the surface can be monitored. New laws regarding money and transactions have virtually made it illegal to carry cash. One of the things that, a lot of this information, I want to give credit where it is due here, came from anything here called The Secret History of the World Order by Herbert G. Dorsey, the intelligence advisor, which is out of Phoenix, Arizona. Some other things. Hollywood is definitely a part of this program. They are desensitizing everyone with the movies that they make. So when there really is shooting in the streets, it will be business as usual. And that's exactly what we are allowing to happen. They're also trying to create a new society, or a moral society. Ramsey Weaver, and what happened in Waco shows the strength of what the government wants to do unless the people are there to stop it. Bill Clinton is being backed by the New World Order, but again I want to say to you, according to the Andromedans, he will not be president by the end of May 1995. Al Gore will be our president by the end of May 1995. Bill Clinton will have to resign. So that on record. Florida State Police were deputized under federal police regulations, and they can be sent anywhere in the United States on a moment's notice to police any other state. Aid and abet, that has been started by an officer in Arizona by the name of Jack McLam. He talks in his thing there about police forces being swapped city to city. We've also heard a rumor that he has been arrested. We are working on that, that's why I said it was a rumor. The first thing you can do, is that we have elections coming up in November. Register to vote. If you don't vote, you don't register to vote, you shouldn't be complaining at all. So register to vote. And when you go to the polls to vote, vote out every single person that is there now. Get anybody that is new voted in, because it will take the world government years to train them, which gives us some time to organize. Those people who are there now, they've sold us out. You may find 20 in the Congress and the Senate that are worth a damn. But instead of sitting there wondering who it is, just vote them all out. Just start over, and you have to do it starting this November. Same thing with California. Whoever hasn't been governor, whoever hasn't held office in California, vote them in. If they don't know what they're doing, it buys us time to organize. Because they are going to have to train them. The other thing is, stop looking at a black man as a black man, a white man as a honky, a Mexican as a wetback. If they are here, they are human beings. If they are on the planet, they are human beings. Ladies and gentlemen, we have got to stick together, not only as Americans, but as human beings. Because there are forces here, and you can be in all the denial that you want, there are forces here who are not human, and they don't give a flying cahoot about us. All we have when the chips come down is each other. And if I can't count on my own race to back me up, we got nothing. We have absolutely nothing. Whether you like me or not, we are both in that corner together, and there is an alien standing there, or our military pointing M16s at us. All we've got is each other. All our differences fall away. But we don't have to wait until we get to that point, because it may be too late when we box ourselves into that corner. We are almost there now, and not enough people know. There are law enforcement agencies in the United States, even states that are forming their own militias because they don't want to do this. That's the only way the states can get around the NSA, Washington, D.C. and the UN Charter, is that they form their own militia, just like the Revolutionary War. It worked then, it can work again. In the Revolutionary War, in the fight for America, actually only 4% rose up, left their homes and their families, and went and fought the British. We are not going to be that lucky this time. It's going to take a lot more. Because this Revolutionary War is going to be across the United States. What the Andromedans have said is that the Vietnam veterans will be the first to stand up and say no, not you. No way. And if they are, support them in any way you can. Whether it's food, whether it's bandages or whatever it is. All we have is each other. If we lose our freedom, we may not ever get it back. If we don't uphold the divine plan, which is freedom, not slavery, that the benevolent ETs will be sitting up there wondering what we are going to do, are not going to bother to help us if we don't try to help ourselves. In my last lecture, from 2003 to 2007, if everything goes right, there will be no ETs here. But the New World Order is going to be here by then. From 1997 to 1999 it should be in full swing. Once they break the economy of the United States, hey folks, we are in tough shape. Let's say we get rid of the ETs, the Greys and all the others, they leave. We still have a handful of people who are controlling the planet using the military, using guns, using nuclear weapons, using scalar technology, using Tesla technology, elf waves from the moon, weather control. Using all of that against us. Bottom line, this is it. If I could fight the battle for everybody, I would. I would be the first one there. I'm probably going to be one of the first ones there anyways because this disgusts me. But I can't do it alone. I am being asked to mention Wickenburg. This was information that came from Liberty's mom. Okay, Wickenburg, Luke Air Force Base. Patriot citizens apparently witnessed something that was on the base, and it is called a fuel bladder. Apparently they've witnessed the Air Force personnel there burying it on the Air Force Base. Wickenburg is in Arizona. Massive amounts are buried in Wickenburg. They went out there and they were told that it was a training facility. The sheriffs and the Air Force apparently say that they don't know anything about it. But if I understand right, these fuel bladders are to be used to be dropped on cities. What they do is they totally ignite half the city just like that with one bomb. Ramsey Weaver, for those of you that know nothing about it. He got into trouble, and they singled him out. Apparently they were going to use one of these on him, on his house. Even though he and his family were in there, and they chose not to because there was so many media present. This is our own people. This is our own military. I know it sounds incredible, but this is really happening. I don't know how it's happened. I don't know how they twisted some of their minds, or what they are telling people. Or maybe they are not Air Force at all, who knows? But the bottom line is, when the United States Constitution was created, what are the first 3 words of the United States Constitution? We the people. And you know what, folks? 200 and some odd years, all of us who have incarnated over and over in this country. We have really filled our pockets, but to a great extent we have emptied our souls. We allowed this to happen. This is a reality check here. This information is out there. Prove me wrong. I dare you, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong that what I told to here isn't the truth. Unfortunately, you won't be able to. That's the sad part. So you have to do something. Even if you just tell 2 or 3 friends, or 10 friends and create awareness. Don't give up your weapons. If the game is over, and we gave up our weapons, we will not be able to defend ourselves. And folks, I don't even own a gun. But if I did, I would never give it up. Not knowing that they are going to make a slave out of me, or anybody that I love. I've incarnated in other lives. I've done the slave thing. Some of you have too. Some of you who have grew up with a really strict mother, you were probably a slave already in this lifetime. Q. Will they have scanners to find weapons in the house? AC. I don't know. I don't know all of the information that is out there. I'm researching just like the other people. There are actually some people in the circuit that are more qualified to talk about this than I am. But you are here, I wanted to share with you what I know, and how important it is. Again, it comes back down to personal responsibility. All of us have incarnated into this country for a reason. And that is because we like individual freedoms, and individual rights. And nobody but the Creator, whatever you want to call it, has the right to tell you what to do, what to think, what to wear, what to say. In fact, even God gave you free will so he wouldn't have to tell you, or she wouldn't have to tell you, what to do or what to think. And yet a bunch of lousy aliens, and a group of bankers want to come down here and tell you who you are, or who you aren't. It stinks. Right now the earth is like a cesspool, and we can change it, but it takes all of us to do it. It starts right here, and it starts in the heart. Let's say we start fighting. Did the Andromedans say what they would do to help us, like preventing some of the... or anything like that? AC, if we make a stand, if we make an effort, they will make an effort. They are not the only ones. The Pleiadians have warned about this. The Syrians. Many of the Chanelers. People who are getting channeled information, they talked about this. If we make an effort to fight it, they will help. They will probably start with the ETs because this is who is pulling all the strings right now. You've got to believe that. Man himself is not that diabolical that he would do this unless he was forced to or being controlled to do it. And this is the only force on the planet that can make this kind of shit happen. Pardon me. Because this is their Missouri. They've done it here before, and it is happening all over again. It's a time of change, folks. It's definitely a time of change, and all of you are here for a reason. You bought a ticket, you've bought a ringside seat, you wanted to be here for the show. Well, guess what? You're on stage as well. You're part of the show. Is all of this that is happening on 3rd density is happening on 4th and 5th density also. AC, this is happening in 3rd and 4th. As a matter of fact, on 4th density the battle has already started between the aliens, and there are big casualties on both sides. Because I would think that, as you said in one of our previous meetings, that when going into 4th density, that they can't necessarily, we can basically disappear. It would be cool for all of us to get into 4th density as soon as possible. AC, right? However, for most of us it isn't going to happen until we get here. So we've got some work cut out for us. There's going to be some stuff. And folks, again, I am not coming from a space of fear, I am just trying to tell you the way it is. There's going to be a civil war. It's going to happen unless we rise up now and start changing Washington, D.C. even that, or everybody has to arm and get in their cars and drive to Washington, D.C., and arrest the House of Representatives, the Senate, Congress, and the President, and try them for treason for selling us out in the United States Constitution. And I don't see everybody doing that. First you cut off the hand, because it can slap you. After you cut off the hand, then you deal with the NSA. As a matter of fact, because of the way the NSA is set up and its connection to the aliens, I honestly believe that the Pleiadians, the Andromedans, the other sources, will definitely deal with the NSA. They will have to because we don't have the toys that they have. The first thing that they will do is probably run to the moon anyway. They wouldn't want to be here because they know they can't fight everybody. There is only 50,000 or 60,000 of them in the NSA. There is 250 million people. 160 million have registered weapons. We are an awesome army if we come together, if we take a stand together.